Hello there, my name is Thomas Regan, and over the last 3.5 years, me and my wife have built a property portfolio that is now worth $4 million. And when we started our property portfolio, all we had to build it was $45,000. So I think we're doing pretty well. And when it comes to property investing, I know my shit. Now, I wanted to debunk, or not debunk, but just make aware something that a lot of novice investors or just people that get debt to buy their own home get very wrong about debt. And it's a fundamental thing that you need to understand about debt. Debt is not bad. Debt is good depending on what you acquire with it. Say, just to make this clear, say if you acquire something that is a depreciating asset with debt, then it is bad debt. It is a liability. But if you acquire something that it is an appreciating asset, then that is, you are using debt in a good way. You are using debt to build your wealth. You are using debt like a smart person would. You're using debt not to buy Louis Vuitton shoes, bags, or anything stupid like that. You're using debt to buy something that in the future will be worth far more than you paid for it originally. Now, let me give you an extreme example by what you can do with debt if you take debt and you expand it over a long time horizon. Now, a lot of people want to just pay down their debt as quickly as possible, but I'm just gonna run this through so you guys understand why smart investors like debt and they just want to effectively get as much debt as possible, because they're acquiring debt and attaching it to something that is a good appreciating asset. Now, people see how much they pay on their debt as interest payments over a long period of time, and they say, oh my God, I bought a $500,000 house and over 30 years, I paid $1.2 million in interest payments. That's terrible. I don't want to pay $1.2 million in interest payments. Why would anyone want to pay $1.2 million of interest payments? I mean, yes, if you are paying $1.2 million of interest payments from your own money that you are going to work every single day to pay, then 100% it is bad debt. But any good property investor will know that if you are building a property portfolio, you should be acquiring assets that are, if not positive cash flow, at least neutral. So when you acquire more assets, you want those assets, these properties, these investment properties to be cash flow neutral or positive. So it doesn't matter what the debt payments are because the rent is covering all the payments. Get that? Now, say with that in mind, if you had let's be extreme. If you had $10 million of debt in, say, 1980, what would that be alarming to you? Well, if you had the rental payments covering the entire debt amount, absolutely not. But people think, gee, I don't want that debt, I want to pay it down. But instead of paying it down, what you should be doing is acquiring more good debt and attaching it to an asset that is going to appreciate. Why? Because the debt level stays the same. So let's go to this example. You bought $10 million, you acquired $10 million worth of debt and attached to a appreciating asset like property in 1980. Well, guess what? Most properties in Australia, if you bought a $10 million property in 1980, and I'm just doing some quick maths here, probably would be worth around at least $50 million today. So if for that entire time that you held that debt and the rental payments covered them all, would it really matter in today if your asset base was worth $50 million and all you had was just a $10 million very insignificant debt in comparison to in comparison to the actual asset value now? Absolutely not, especially if the rental income is covering the debt payments, the interest payments. Absolutely not. So that is the difference. And let me do a very extreme example here. So Saul Goldman is one of a famous New York City investor. He is a career property investor, and Over the space of 10 years, he bought 700 investment properties from 1950 to 1960 in New York City. He owns many buildings in New York City, and he acquired 700 properties. Now, let's just assume each one of those properties that he bought was around $1 million in 1950, and today he still owns all those 700 properties. They're probably worth about $10 million each now. So in 1950, say he had about $700 million worth of debt. But today, say he never paid any of the debt off, today the actual asset value would probably be worth far in excess of $7 billion. But let's just pretend it was $7 billion, which is like a 10x increase, right? So he had $7 billion worth of asset and he had $700 million worth of debt. Imagine the rental income covered that the whole time. Would that be a good investment or not? Obviously, yes. If you had $7 billion worth of asset and you only had $700 million worth of debt, that's the power of acquiring good debt, using debt to acquire assets that appreciate. So if you have a mortgage and you're very concerned about how much interest you're going to pay as an investor over a long period of time, just don't worry about it. All you need to understand is if it's positive cash flow, just keep acquiring more properties, just keep using debt, keep leveraging, because it's better to leverage and pay debt, the cost of debt, than to not have any debt at all. If you guys like these videos, please subscribe and hit me up in the comments if you want to know anything else about debt. See ya, bye.